The wind in the Andes was sharp and cold, sweeping across the high ridges and cutting through the thin air. Raoul pulled his worn jacket tighter around his shoulders as he climbed the rocky slope. His breath came hard, but he was used to it. He had grown up in these mountains, and he always said the peaks were part of him. Now, as a researcher, he had returned to study the ruins that the elders of the village spoke about with both pride and fear. The ruins were small, only a broken wall here and a fallen stone there, but people whispered that these stones were once the temples of the sun god. Most of the villagers kept their distance. They believed treasure was buried beneath the mountain, and they also believed that treasure carried a curse. Raoul had never cared for such warnings. To him, stories were important, but they were also puzzles, and puzzles asked to be solved. He set down his pack near a cluster of carved rocks. He had been here for weeks, scanning the ground with his small instruments. Most days had given him nothing but silence, until last night. Just as he was packing his things, his scanner had picked up something new. A repeating pulse, faint but steady, like a hidden heartbeat beneath the earth. Raoul had not been able to sleep. He returned early in the morning, determined to find the source. Kneeling, he adjusted the device strapped across his chest. The signal came again, one sharp wave, then a pause, then another. It was unlike the natural tremors of the mountains. It was too clean, too ordered. Raoul frowned and scribbled in his notebook. If this was what he thought, it could change everything he knew about the site. The sound of footsteps pulled him from his thoughts. Turning, Raoul saw Mateo, a boy from the village, carrying a bundle of firewood on his back. "You are still here, Señor," Mateo said, wide-eyed. "Always looking at rocks. Did you hear it?" "Hear what?" Raoul asked, curious. "The ground," Mateo whispered. "At night, it hums. My grandfather says the gods speak again." Raoul chuckled gently. "It is not gods, Mateo. It is the earth. But maybe the earth remembers something." The boy shook his head, clearly unconvinced, and hurried away. Raoul watched him go, the words echoing in his mind. The earth remembers something. It was not far from what Raoul believed. History left marks, and sometimes, those marks called out to those who listened. By noon, Raoul had followed the signal to a ridge above the ruins. The scanner pointed toward a section of the ground covered by stones, as though something had been carefully hidden. He brushed away dirt with his hands, uncovering carvings that had been buried for centuries. Lines and circles intertwined across the surface, forming patterns that seemed both familiar and strange. Some resembled the sun motifs found in old Inca temples, but others looked mechanical, almost like designs for machines. His pulse quickened. Could this be more than simple art? He placed his hand on the stone, and at once the device on his chest went wild. The pulses grew stronger, filling his ears like a drum beat. The stone beneath him gave a faint vibration, as if something alive stirred below. Raoul pulled back, heart pounding. He checked his notes, checked the scanner, then pressed his hand again. The vibration returned, steady and patient. It was not random. It was a signal waiting to be answered. He sat back on the rocks, staring at the sky. The Andes stretched endlessly in all directions, their snowy peaks glowing under the sun. Somewhere deep below, a hidden chamber was speaking. If this was true, then the stories of the sun god might not be only legend. Perhaps they were memories of real visitors, misunderstood by the people of the past. For the first time, Raoul felt a weight settle on his shoulders. This was bigger than research or discovery. If he continued, he would uncover something the world might not be ready to see. He thought of the villagers who feared the curse. He thought of Mateo's words, and his grandfather's warnings. Some doors, once opened, could never be closed again. But Raoul was not one to turn away. He pulled a fresh page in his notebook and began to sketch the patterns he had found. Each line seemed to connect to another, forming a great web. At the center was a circle with rays spreading outward, just like the sun. His pen slowed as he realized the design was not only art, it was a map. Not a map of the land, but of the sky. The rays pointed to constellations, and in one corner, a cluster of stars glowed brighter in the carvings than the rest. Rawls' breath caught. This was no accident. Whoever had carved this had known the stars in ways far beyond simple stargazing. The knowledge was advanced, too advanced for its time. He traced the lines again, his fingers trembling. As the sun dipped lower, Rahul packed his things with care. He knew he had to return tomorrow with better tools, but deep down, he already felt it. The mountains had given him a message. The signal was not a trick of nature. It was a call, waiting to be answered. And Rahul, son of the Andes, was ready to listen. The next morning, Rahul returned to the ruins before the sun rose fully over the mountains. The air was thin and cold, and frost sparkled on the stones. His pack was heavier than usual, filled with tools, lanterns, and rope. Sleep had been nearly impossible. The carvings, the signal, and the strange vibration under the ground had kept him awake, turning in his bed. He felt the pull of the ruins stronger than ever, as if the mountain itself was urging him to dig deeper. He reached the ridge and found the same stone he had uncovered yesterday. The sun's first rays touched its surface, making the carvings glow faintly. Rahul crouched down and brushed away more dirt, careful not to damage the markings. His hands moved slowly, almost with reverence. Each new line revealed itself like part of a story written long ago. The scanner around his chest began to hum again. The steady pulses returned, louder now. They seemed to guide him, pointing to a spot near the base of the stone slab. Rahul pressed his hand against it and felt the vibration once more. He searched for cracks or seams and finally found a narrow line running along the edge. His heart raced. It was not just a stone lying in the ground, it was a door. With a small pick, Rahul scraped at the edges. Dust fell away, and the line grew clearer. He placed his shoulder against the slab and pushed, but the stone did not move. He tried again, harder this time, but it remained solid. Sweat formed on his brow despite the cold air. He stepped back and studied it, thinking. If this was truly a sealed entrance, it would not open so easily. He lifted the scanner and adjusted the settings. The pulses shifted, growing sharper when pointed at the center of the slab. Rahul hesitated, then placed his palm flat against the circle with rays carved into the surface. The stone warmed under his skin. A faint golden shimmer spread across the carvings, tracing the lines as if they were veins filled with light. Rahul gasped and stumbled back. The mountain was answering his touch. Slowly, the slab rumbled, shaking the ground. Dust rained down from above as the stone slid aside with a deep grinding sound. Behind it, darkness opened like the mouth of a cave. Rawls' lantern flickered as he held it high and stepped forward. The air inside was stale, untouched for centuries, yet it carried a faint metallic scent. The passage led down into the mountain, walls lined with smooth stone. Unlike the rough ruins above, this place felt deliberate, built with precision. The carvings continued inside, glowing faintly as if reacting to his presence. Each step echoed loudly in the silence. Rawls' mind raced with questions. Who had built this? How could it remain hidden for so long? Were these truly the works of an ancient people, or had something greater left them here? The tunnel narrowed, then opened into a wide chamber. Rahul froze, his lantern trembling in his hand. The walls around him were covered with patterns that looked both like art and like machinery. Circles connected by straight lines, spirals that crossed one another, and shapes that resembled stars. The design seemed alive, pulsing faintly with the same golden light he had seen outside. At the center of the chamber stood a massive stone block, taller than Rahul himself. Its surface was smooth, polished, and unlike any stone he had seen in the Andes. As he stepped closer, he saw that it was not just stone. Thin lines of light ran across it, forming a lattice of glowing paths. Rahul set down his pack and pulled out his notebook. His hands shook as he tried to sketch the designs. He realized quickly that they were not random, they were instructions, diagrams. He traced one line with his finger and saw how it connected to a star pattern carved into the wall. The whole chamber was like a map of the heavens, a record of knowledge far beyond anything the villagers could have imagined. He placed his hand on the block in the center. It was warm, almost like the stone itself was breathing. The scanner beeped wildly, its readings far beyond normal limits. Rahul felt his chest tighten with excitement and fear. The ground gave a small tremor, and the golden lines across the chamber brightened. The walls lit up, revealing hidden carvings that had been invisible in the dark. Star maps stretched across the ceiling. Constellations shimmered, their points connected by threads of light. Some constellations Rahul recognized from the Andes night sky, but others were unknown to him. At the far end of the chamber, a panel slid open with a hiss of air. Behind it, Rahul glimpsed a series of objects stacked neatly: metallic plates, strange cylinders, and shards of crystal glowing faintly. He stepped closer, unable to stop himself. Each object looked like it belonged to a world far beyond his own. He reached for one of the glowing crystals but stopped short. His mind echoed with the voice of the villagers, with Mateo's words about the gods speaking again. Was this what they meant? Was this treasure of the sun god, hidden away until the right moment? Rahul pulled his hand back. He knew he should not rush. He had uncovered something extraordinary, something that could change the world. But with that change came danger. If the wrong people found this place, they would see only power, not knowledge. He sank to the floor, lantern flickering beside him, and took a deep breath. His heart was pounding. He realized that this was only the beginning. The chamber had opened its doors, but it had not yet revealed its full secrets. Somewhere deep below, Rahul felt, there was still more waiting. Something far older and far greater than gold. Something that had been buried in the Andes for a reason. And now, it was awake. For 3 days Rahul returned to the hidden chamber in the mountain. Each time he stepped inside, the golden lines lit up softly as if welcoming him. He studied the walls, sketched the star maps, and wrote long notes about the strange crystals and objects he had found. The more he looked, the more certain he became that this place was not built by any people he knew of. The carvings held knowledge that stretched far beyond the Andes, knowledge that spoke of the stars themselves. But Rahul also knew he could not keep this secret forever. He had left small clues in his reports to his university, hints that the ruins contained something unusual. It was enough to bring attention. On the 4th morning, as Rahul walked up the ridge carrying his tools, he found 2 men waiting near the ruins. They were strangers, dressed in modern climbing gear, and they were not from the village. One of them stepped forward with a polite smile. "You must be Rahul. We've heard of your work here." Rahul felt uneasy. He had not told anyone outside the university about the exact location. He asked carefully, "And who are you?" The man introduced himself as Luis, saying he represented a private foundation interested in archaeology. His companion, Tomasz, carried a heavy pack but said little, only watching Rahul with sharp eyes. Rahul forced a smile. This is a remote place. It is unusual for visitors to come so far. Luis laughed lightly. When the word treasure appears, Senor, mountains are not so high and paths are not so long. You know the stories about the sun god. They have reached more ears than you think. Rahul's chest tightened. The villagers' whispers had always stayed in the valley, but now outsiders had come, drawn by the same rumors. He nodded and excused himself, walking toward the ridge. But when he reached the stone door he had uncovered, his heart sank. The ground around it showed fresh footprints. The chamber had been noticed. That evening, Rahul sat outside his small tent, staring at the peaks turning red in the sunset. He wondered if he should seal the entrance again or keep the discovery hidden. His thoughts were interrupted by another arrival. A woman climbed up the ridge with quiet strength. She wore simple clothes, carried a notebook, and greeted him with a calm voice. "My name is Neera," she said. "I am an archaeologist. I have studied ancient sites in Peru and Bolivia. I heard you found something here." Rahul studied her face. She seemed different from Luis and Tomasz. Her eyes carried not greed but knowledge, as though she already understood what lay beneath the mountain. "I found more than ruins," Rahul admitted slowly. "But I do not know if I should share it." Neera's gaze was steady. "Then perhaps you should share it only with those who understand. Some treasures are not meant for those who see only gold." Her words struck him. She seemed to speak not only of ruins but of something larger. Rahul wondered how much she truly knew. The next morning, Rahul guided Neera into the chamber. As they stepped inside, the golden lines lit the walls. Neera stopped and placed her hand gently against the carvings. "It responds to you," she whispered. "The guardians chose well." Rahul blinked. "Guardians? What do you mean?" But before she could answer, voices echoed in the tunnel. Luis and Tomasz had followed. They entered the chamber with wide eyes, staring at the glowing walls. Luis clapped his hands together. "Magnificent! Truly magnificent! This is no ordinary ruin. Do you know what this means, Rahul? Riches, fame, endless discovery." Rahul stepped in front of the central block. "This place is not for riches. It is not for fame. It is a legacy of knowledge." Tomasz gave a short laugh. "Knowledge is nothing without power. And power is what we see here." Neera's expression darkened. She stepped closer to Rahul and whispered, "Be careful. They will not respect what they do not understand." Luis ignored her warning. He approached the shelves at the far end, reaching for one of the glowing crystals. As his hand touched it, the chamber shuddered violently. The golden light flared, and the carvings blazed as though the walls were alive. From hidden cracks in the floor, faint shapes began to rise, figures of stone and light, their forms tall and angular. Their eyes glowed gold. Rahul's breath caught. The chamber was defending itself. Luis stumbled back, fear flashing in his eyes. What is this?" Neera raised her voice firmly. "Guardians. They protect what was left here. They do not allow greed." The glowing figures stepped forward, silent but powerful. Their bodies shimmered, and the air grew heavy. Rahul felt both fear and awe. This was no myth, no simple tale told by villagers. The sun god's treasure was real, and it was protected. He looked at Neera, who stood calm while the strangers trembled. She seemed to belong here, as if the chamber recognized her. Rahul realized that her arrival was no accident. She knew more about this place than she admitted. The guardians halted, standing between the glowing block and the intruders. Their golden eyes fixed on Luis and Tomasz, as if waiting for them to choose. Rahul understood in that moment that the chamber was not only a vault. It was a test. The chamber shook as the guardians stood firm, their tall figures glowing with golden light. Luis and Tomasz pressed against the wall, their earlier greed replaced with fear. Rahul felt his own heart racing, but he did not move away. He knew, deep inside, that the guardians were not here to destroy but to judge. Neera stepped forward, her calm voice steady. "Do not touch anything," she warned Luis and Tomasz. "The guardians react to intention. If you act with greed, they will not allow you to stay." Luis swallowed hard and nodded, though his eyes still lingered on the glowing crystals. Tomasz muttered under his breath, but he lowered his hand. Slowly, the trembling in the chamber settled, though the guardians remained, their golden eyes fixed on the intruders. Rahul looked up at the central block. The lattice of golden lines across its surface was shining brighter than ever, as if awakening fully. His scanner beeped wildly, unable to measure the energy rising in the room. Then, without warning, a figure of light appeared above the block. It was taller than any human, its body made of shifting golden armor, its face hidden behind a mask shaped like the sun. Rays of light stretched outward from its head like a crown. Rahul felt his knees weaken at the sight. This was no carving, no projection of stone. This was the sun god of legend alive, or at least preserved in some form. The figure's voice echoed in the chamber, deep and resonant. It spoke in a language Rahul had never heard, yet somehow he understood every word. "Children of Earth," the voice said. "You have opened the vault. Long have we waited to see who would answer the call." Luis gasped and fell to his knees, while Tomasz whispered in disbelief. Neera bowed her head respectfully, her eyes glowing faintly in the golden light. Rahul stood frozen, his notebook slipping from his hand. The sun god continued. "Long ago, we came to guide your people. We gave knowledge of the stars and taught the ways of the sun. But your kind was not ready. The vault was sealed, to sleep until the day a heart pure in intent came forth." Raul's breath caught. "Why me?" he whispered, his voice shaking. The golden figure turned its face toward him. "Because you seek knowledge, not riches. Because you listen, not only with ears, but with spirit. You were chosen by the mountain, the eternal witness." Neera glanced at Rahul, a small knowing smile on her face, as though she had expected this. The sun god lifted its hand, and the star maps on the ceiling shifted. Constellations moved, forming paths across the heavens. Some stars Rahul recognized, but others belonged to places far beyond human reach. "This is the treasure of the vault," the figure said. "Not gold, but knowledge. The gift of medicine, of energy, of travel across the sky. These tools can raise your world or destroy it." Luis, unable to hold back, stepped forward. "Then give it to us. We can use it. We can build a new age." The golden eyes of the sun god flared. "Greed blinds the unworthy. Those who seek power for themselves will bring only ruin." The guardians took a step forward, and Luis stumbled back, trembling. Raul's voice broke the silence. "If this knowledge is dangerous, why leave it here at all? Why not take it away?" The sun god's voice lowered, filled with weight. "Because humanity must choose its own path. To hide knowledge forever is to chain your kind. To reveal it too soon is to destroy you. The choice belongs not to us, but to you." Rahul felt the words strike deep within him. The responsibility was enormous, heavier than any burden he had known. He thought of the villagers, of Mateo's grandfather warning of the curse. He thought of the children who might one day live in a world of light instead of darkness. Knowledge was a gift, but also a test. The figure raised both hands. The golden block in the center split open, revealing a core of blazing light. It pulsed like a living heart, filling the chamber with warmth. Rahul shielded his eyes, awed by its beauty. "This is the sun core," the figure said. "It holds the essence of our gift. With it, disease can be healed, hunger ended, and the stars themselves open to you. But beware. If taken with greed, it will consume the one who touches it. If taken with wisdom, it will guide you to greatness." Rahul stepped forward slowly, every part of him trembling. He felt the pull of the light, not as temptation but as a call. He wanted to reach out, yet fear held him back. Could he trust himself with something so great? Neera placed a hand on his arm. Her voice was quiet but strong. "Do not fear, Rahul. The vault knew you would come. It responds to you, not to them. That is why it opened." Rahul looked at her sharply. "How do you know this?" Neera's eyes softened. Because my ancestors were left here long ago, tasked to protect this place. I am not like them, she nodded toward Luis and Tomasz. I am a child of both worlds. I came to guide the one who would awaken the sun god. And that one is you. The words left Rahul breathless. He stared again at the blazing core, then at the figure of light standing above it. The sun god raised its voice once more. The moment has come. Choose wisely, child of earth. The fate of your world rests in your heart. The chamber fell silent except for the steady pulse of the sun core. Rahul felt the eyes of the guardians, of Nira, of Luis, and Tomasz all upon him. The weight of choice pressed down like the very mountain above. And Rahul knew whatever he chose would change not just his life, but the destiny of all humanity. The chamber glowed with the golden light of the sun core. Rahul stood frozen, caught between awe and fear, while the voice of the sun god echoed in his mind. The choice was his, yet the weight of it was far greater than he had ever imagined. Behind him, Luis and Tomasz exchanged a look. Their eyes burned not with wonder, but with hunger. Rahul felt it without even turning. He knew greed when it lingered in the air. Do you not see? Luis whispered fiercely. That light is everything. Energy, wealth, power. Whoever controls it will rule the future. Tomasz nodded, stepping closer to the glowing core. Rahul is too cautious. He hesitates. But we are ready. We can act. Nira stepped between them and the sun core, her eyes sharp. This is not yours to take. If you reach for it with greed, it will destroy you. Luis sneered. Those are just stories to frighten children. Power belongs to those brave enough to claim it. The chamber trembled, as if the vault itself disapproved of his words. The guardian's golden eyes glowed brighter, and they shifted slightly, ready to defend. Still, Tomasz was not afraid. He pulled a small tool from his pack, shaped like a cutting device, and pointed it at the glowing block. Rahul's heart pounded. Stop, he said firmly. You don't understand. This is not just a machine, it's alive, in some way. If you strike it, you could wake something you cannot control. But greed is a heavy chain. Tomasz pressed forward, ignoring the warning. He activated the tool, and its blue spark hissed against the chamber's air. He swung it toward the base of the core. The reaction was immediate. The sun core flared with blinding light, sending a wave of energy through the chamber. The carvings on the walls burned brighter than fire. The guardians moved forward, their massive forms pulsing with power. A deafening sound filled the chamber, not like a roar but like the voice of the mountain itself rising in anger. The energy wave knocked Luis and Tomasz off their feet. Rahul stumbled but managed to hold himself steady. Nira stood calmly, her hand on the glowing wall, as if she was connected to the vault itself. The guardians raised their arms, and the ground split open at the edges of the chamber. Streams of golden light surged upward, forming barriers that blocked the intruders from reaching the sun core. Luis scrambled to his feet, shouting. You cannot keep this from us. It belongs to all mankind. Rahul shook his head. No, it belongs to none of us. It was left as a test, not as a prize. You mistake responsibility for possession. Tomasz, his face twisted with frustration, hurled his tool at the core. It bounced off the glowing barrier and disintegrated into sparks. At once, the guardians advanced. Their golden forms loomed tall, their steps shaking the ground. The chamber itself seemed alive now, every wall lit with furious brilliance. Dust rained from the ceiling, and the air grew hot. Rahul realized the betrayal had triggered a defense far more dangerous than before. Run, Nira said quietly to Rahul. The chamber is closing itself. If you stay, you will be trapped. But the core, Rahul began. The core cannot be stolen, Nira cut him off. It will remain. But lives will be lost if we do not leave. Rahul looked back at Luis and Tomasz. They were still struggling, desperate to find a way past the guardians. Their greed blinded them to the danger. Rahul hesitated, torn between his instinct to help and the knowledge that they had brought this upon themselves. "Rahul," Neera urged. "We must go. The vault has judged them already." With heavy steps, Rahul gathered his pack and followed her toward the tunnel. The ground shook harder, stones falling around them. Behind, the guardians moved in silence, their golden bodies standing like towers of judgment before the two intruders. As Rahul and Neera reached the passage, he looked back one last time. The sun core pulsed brightly, almost like a heartbeat. The figure of the sun god hovered above it, watching. Its voice spoke softly into Rahul's mind. "Choice is the measure of worth. You will be tested again." Rahul shivered. He followed Neera up the passage as the entrance began to close. The stone door rumbled back into place, sealing the chamber. The sound of grinding stone echoed like thunder. When they emerged into the thin mountain air, Rahul collapsed on the rocks, breathing hard. The sun was setting, painting the peaks red and gold. For a moment, he thought of the villagers who spoke of curses and buried gods. Perhaps they had been right to fear this place. Neera stood beside him, calm as ever. "You see now," she said quietly. "Greed awakens only ruin. But you held back. That is why the sun god speaks to you." Rahul rubbed his face with trembling hands. "I am not sure I am worthy. I am only a man who loves the mountains and their stories." Neera's voice softened. "That may be exactly why you are worthy. Those who seek power for themselves are blind. But those who seek truth see clearly." Rahul stared at the horizon, the last rays of sunlight fading into the night. Deep inside the mountain, the chamber still glowed, sealed once more. But Rahul knew it was not over. The sun core had not rejected him. Instead, it waited. And he feared that more strangers would come, strangers even more dangerous than Luis and Tomasz. The treasure of the sun god was no longer just a myth. It was awake, and the world would soon hear of it. The night in the Andes was silent except for the wind sweeping across the ridges. Rahul sat outside his tent, staring at the stars above. They glittered like diamonds against the black sky, the same stars carved on the walls of the hidden chamber. His mind was restless. He could still hear the sun god's voice, echoing with weight and promise. "The fate of your world rests in your heart." Beside him, Neera tended a small fire. The flames flickered, casting her face in soft light. She looked calm, but Rahul could sense the tension in her. She was watching him closely, as though waiting for him to speak. At last Rahul asked, "Why me? Out of all the people in the world, why did the vault open to me?" Neera added a branch to the fire. Sparks rose into the air before she answered. "Because you did not come here looking for gold. You listened to the mountain, and you respected its silence. The vault was not waiting for the strong or the clever. It was waiting for someone who could choose wisely." Rahul lowered his eyes. "But how can I choose for all humanity? That is too great a task. I am only one man." "The vault does not expect perfection," Neera said gently. "It expects honesty. You must decide what you believe is right, and the sun god will accept or deny based on that truth." Rahul thought of Luis and Tomasz, trapped inside by their own greed. He thought of the villagers who feared the curse, and of Mateo, whose grandfather had spoken of the god's warning. Then he thought of the glowing star maps, of the healing power promised by the sun core. His chest tightened. Knowledge could save lives, but it could also bring destruction. The fire burned low, and Rahul finally lay back, staring once more at the stars. He realized he would never find his answer by running away. He had to return to the chamber and face the sun god again. At dawn, Rahul and Neera climbed back to the ridge. The stone door was sealed, but as Rahul pressed his hand against it, the golden lines reappeared, glowing warmly. Slowly, the door slid open. The chamber welcomed him once more. Inside, it was quiet. The guardians stood motionless, like statues of light, and the sun core pulsed faintly. Above it, the figure of the sun god appeared again, its voice filling the chamber. You have seen the danger of greed. Now you must choose. Shall the gift of the sun core be opened to your people, or shall it remain sealed until another age? Rahul swallowed hard. His voice trembled as he asked, if I open it, will it not be misused? Men like Luis will come again. Governments, armies, corporations, they will all want it. They will fight for it. The sun god's golden eyes shone brighter. Yes. That is one path. And yet, to seal it forever is to deny your people the chance to rise. Without knowledge, humanity will suffer and struggle, slower to reach the stars. Your choice will shape their journey. Rahul felt his knees weaken. He was not a leader, not a ruler, not even a man of wealth. He was simply Rahul, a researcher from the mountains. And yet here he stood, asked to decide the future of the world. He turned to Neera. What would you choose? Neera's eyes were steady. It is not for me to choose. I was born to guard, not to claim. The vault did not open for me, it opened for you. Whatever you decide, I will stand with you. Rahul closed his eyes. He thought of the sick and poor who could be healed with the sun core's medicine. He thought of children who could grow in a world without hunger. But he also thought of men building weapons, of wars fought over power. At last, he spoke. His voice was quiet but firm. If the world is not ready, then to give everything at once will destroy us. But if we are given nothing, we may never learn to reach for more. There must be a middle path. The sun god tilted its head, golden rays shimmering. Explain. Do not open the vault fully, Rahul said. Do not give all your gifts. Instead, give one thing, something small, but powerful enough to remind humanity of what is possible. Let us prove we can use it wisely. If we succeed, then perhaps we will be ready for more. Silence filled the chamber. The guardians stood unmoving. The sun core pulsed, slow and steady. Then the figure of the sun god lifted its hand. You speak with humility. You do not seek power, but hope. Very well. Your request shall be granted. The core flared with light, and from it emerged a small object. It floated in the air, then lowered into Rahul's hands. It was no larger than a stone, smooth and glowing faintly. As he held it, he felt warmth spread through his skin. This is a seed of the core, the sun god said. With it, any illness may be healed. It is not a weapon, but a promise. Guard it well. If your people use it with wisdom, more shall be given when the time is right. Rahul stared at the small object, his hands trembling. It was beautiful, yet simple. Something that could change millions of lives, yet small enough to hide in a pocket. Neera smiled faintly. The vault trusted you, Rahul. And so did I. The figure of the sun god began to fade, its golden form dissolving back into the air. Its final words echoed in the chamber. Remember. The measure of worth is not in what you receive, but in how you use it. The light dimmed. The sun core pulsed once more, then grew silent. The guardians returned to stillness. The chamber was quiet again, as if the mountain itself had gone back to sleep. Rahul stood in the silence, the glowing seed in his hands. The choice had been made. He had not opened the vault fully, but neither had he sealed it forever. He had chosen a path of trust, a test for humanity itself. As he stepped out into the bright mountain sun, Rahul knew this was only the beginning. The world would change because of what he now carried. The question was not whether humanity could use the gift, the question was whether humanity deserved it. The sun was high over the Andes as Rahul and Neera began their descent from the ridge. The wind swept cold across the mountains, but Raoul hardly noticed. His mind was fixed on the small glowing seed resting in his pocket. Each step he took, he felt its warmth against him, like a heartbeat. It was both a comfort and a burden. At the edge of the valley, the villagers were waiting. Word had spread quickly that strangers had gone into the ruins, and some had not returned. Matteo ran forward, his eyes wide with curiosity. "Señor Raoul, did you find it? Did the gods speak?" Raoul knelt to meet the boy's gaze. He saw wonder and innocence there, the kind of spirit the sun god must have once trusted. He could not show the boy the seed, not yet, but he nodded gently. "Yes, Matteo. The mountain spoke. And it left something for us to guard." The villagers murmured, their faces a mix of awe and fear. The elder stepped forward, leaning on his staff. His weathered eyes studied Raoul carefully. "And what did the mountain give you?" "Riches. Power." Raoul shook his head. "Not riches. Not power. A gift of healing. But it is not mine. It belongs to all of us, and we must protect it." The elder nodded slowly, his expression unreadable. "Then you carry a heavy weight. Be careful, Raoul. The world beyond these peaks does not fear curses. It fears hunger and greed. Many will come for what you hold." That night, Raoul sat by the fire with Nira. The villagers stayed near, whispering prayers to the sun god. Raoul held the seed in his hands, watching its faint golden glow. "How do I protect this?" he asked quietly. Nero looked at him with calm certainty. "You cannot protect it forever by hiding it. Sooner or later, it will be seen. What matters is how you use it before that day. Use it for good, Raoul. Let it heal. Let it remind your people that not every treasure is meant to be owned." Raoul nodded, though doubt still pressed on him. He had chosen the middle path, but he did not know if humanity would walk it wisely. Weeks passed. Raoul returned to the city, carrying the seed in a small wooden box. In secret, he tested its power. When placed near a sick plant, the plant grew strong overnight. When touched to a wounded hand, the skin closed and healed within hours. Raoul wept the first time he saw it. This was no myth. It was real. Carefully, he shared the discovery with a trusted doctor. Together, they healed a child dying of fever. Word spread quickly, and soon, more sick came to Raoul's small house. He healed quietly, never charging money, never seeking fame. The villagers began calling him the keeper of the sun god's gift. But whispers grew beyond the mountains. Men from the city came asking questions. Scientists wanted to study his work. Officials wanted proof. Corporations sent letters with promises of wealth if he would share. Raoul refused them all. He knew their hunger. If the seed was taken too soon, wars would follow. One evening, as Raoul walked home, Nira appeared from the shadows. She had left weeks before, vanishing into the mountains, but now she returned. "The world has begun to notice," she said. "You cannot keep this secret much longer." Raoul sighed. "Then what do I do?" Nira placed a hand on his shoulder. "Remember the sun god's words. The gift is not measured by how much you give, but by how you use it. Show the world only enough to inspire hope, not enough to spark greed." Raoul looked at the glowing seed in its box. Its light was steady, patient, like the mountain itself. Perhaps that was the true lesson: patience. Humanity did not need all the stars at once. It needed one light to guide the way. Years passed. Raoul continued to use the seed quietly, healing the sick, teaching others to care for one another. The villagers no longer spoke of curses but of blessings. Matteo grew older, learning from Raoul's notebooks. The boy often asked if the sun god would ever return. Raoul would smile and say, "The sun god never left. His light is in us now." One night, Raoul climbed the ridge alone. He stood before the sealed stone door, gazing at the silent mountain. The chamber beneath was asleep again, its secrets hidden. Raoul touched the stone gently and whispered, "I hope I chose well." The wind carried his words across the peaks. And for a moment, Raoul thought he saw a faint golden glow shimmer across the carvings, as if the sun god was listening still. He turned back toward the valley. The world was changing slowly, but it was changing. The seed had begun a new story, not of greed or conquest, but of healing and hope. The treasures of the sun god remained buried in the Andes, waiting for the day humanity would truly be ready. But the first step had been taken. And that step was enough.